Everyone, Pastor George here with our Tuesday Theolog, and today I have kind of an interesting thing that I found. So I love Wikipedia mining, and what that means is I love to just go through Wikipedia and find weird pages, and I love when weird pages are sent to me because there's like millions of pages on Wikipedia that talk about all sorts of things. For those of you who don't know, which maybe some of you don't know this, Wikipedia is a free encyclopedia online that can be edited by anyone, but like is well kept because now they have thousands of mods. So in the early days, it was kind of like the Wild West, but now it's actually like a really good source, at least like a starting source. I'm not saying cite it in any academic papers or whatever. All I'm saying is like it's a good place to start and use the sources they provide to do further research. Okay, that's I need to say that because every time I say Wikipedia is a good source, all the academics freak out, all of the teachers and parents freak out. But like all things considered, it's fine. If you don't just take everything you read at face value, which you should never really do, then you're fine. Anyway, here's the point: is I like to go on Wikipedia and I like to find weird pages because there are like just lots of weird pages on here, and this is the one I found, which is list of games that Buddha would not play. And it's an interesting thing because it comes out of the Buddhist tradition, and it's pretty old in the Buddhist tradition, older than some of the practices that are kind of associated with it. And it's a list of games that the Buddha told his disciples that they could not play. And that included like board games and like hopscotch and games of throwing dice, right? Ball games, early chess. Chess wasn't around yet, but like an early form of chess. Playing with toy windmills, playing with toy measures, playing with toy carts, playing with toy bows. Uh, guessing at letters. A lot of these seems like kid games, so it'd be like letters that were written on your hand, and you kind of guess what it was. Maybe guess what you would do, guessing what a friend is thinking. All these types of things, and it's really interesting because it shows a really good contrast between what other religions put a lot of emphasis on, which is like action, and Christianity. Not that we don't put emphasis on action in Christianity, but just that like we aren't so as concerned with, unless it's something is explicitly sinful, we're not very concerned with regulating behavior. So these games that the Buddha would say, he would say that these are bad for spiritual development. You shouldn't play them at all, right? And these were laws for not only like monks, but like if you were to be like a devout Buddhist, you would do this as well. I don't know today how many Buddhists are aware of this because it's not very common. I've never heard it before. Maybe the educated ones are. I'm not sure, but it's just really interesting. And I would guess that the reason that he gets rid of these things, and I read one of the sources where he talks about this a little bit, is that it distracts from the work of monks, which should just be like spiritual things in general. So you can't play any games or anything like that. It's really interesting, and it reminded me of this, of kind of a contrast in Christianity, where in First Corinthians, Paul is talking about the believer's freedom. And I think this matters a lot to us because like people will come up to me and they'll ask me like, well, is it okay if I do this, like you have this hobby, is it okay if I have this hobby or like want to support this restaurant even if there's like a picture of a Hindu god in it or something like that, right? And the thing people don't realize is this is actually a concern that people in the early church had, specifically the one about eating food sacrificed to foreign gods or whatever. But it's really interesting because Paul has this to say. So this is 1 Corinthians 10 verses 23 and 24. And Paul writes, he's quoting someone here, I have the right to do anything, you say, but not everything is beneficial. I have the right to do everything, but not everything is constructive. No one should seek for their own good, but the good of others. So here Paul is really interesting. So people are in this Corinthians, right, are writing to Paul and they're saying, we can do whatever we want. And Paul is saying, yeah, everything is allowed, but not everything is beneficial, right? Not everything is constructive. Not everything is lawful. So you should be thinking about how these things can help other people, right? So it's interesting here where we don't actually have things that are denied. So Paul gives the example of eating a meal that was sacrifice to foreign gods. And he said, because those gods don't exist, they don't really matter what you do, but some people's conscience is bothered by it. So if you're with other people and their conscience is bothered by it, like, love them in a way where you don't do it. So it's really interesting, though, because nothing is actually forbidden unless it's explicitly sinful. And this is why we can talk about how we can enjoy all of these different things, right? You can enjoy playing board games, right? Board games are a gift from God through the human genius, right? You can enjoy video games, you can enjoy sports, you can enjoy all sorts of things. The problem is when our hearts become too invested in those things that it detracts from God, right? That's kind of the difference. But the freedom of a Christian, right, that we have is that we are free through Jesus Christ. So we can still know that even when we fail and stumble, right, God is there to catch us and to redeem us. But we can't use that as a crutch, right? We have to always try to do better. So I think it's always really interesting to compare other religious traditions with Christianity and see where they differ. And this is a major way that kind of Buddhism and Christianity differs, is that there are certain tenets in Buddhism which lead you to enlightenment, whereas in Christianity, it's a free gift, right? Grace is given to us through Jesus Christ, and we live our lives in accordance to that, not trying to emulate it because we know that we never can. So I just think it's interesting. You guys should surf around on Wikipedia sometime. You'll be surprised what you can find. All right, everyone, have a wonderful rest of your Tuesday. I will see you tomorrow for our Bible study. Peace out.